How's it going, folks, and welcome back to Park to Prem. Today we have a chance to set a record not only for the most wins in Vanarama National North history, but also for a record points total. The record is 107. We already have 107. Can we go and smash the record today? We've got one game to do it. Let's see how we get on. Yes, folks, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back. It's Wednesday. It's episode, as I said, 14 of Park to Prem with FC United. Season 5 is in the books. One of the shortest seasons I think I've ever done on YouTube. Because, to be honest, it's been relatively straightforward. We've been plain sailing at the top of the table, and that really hasn't changed in the remaining games this year. To the point where I kind of should recap them, but I almost don't feel like recapping them. We'll sort by reverse, just so my face isn't in the way. You can see how the games have gone. Since we were last here, we've remained unbeaten after the FA Trophy disappointment, 3-3 against Chester, couple of wins against the likes of Altrincham, Gateshead and Braintree. Recently we drew against Kettering, and that set us up, as I already mentioned, in this weird scenario where a draw today, we set the record number of points in a league season at this division. If we can win, we also get the record for the most wins in this division. So there is a little bit to play for today. It's nice to put yourself in the history books and stuff, isn't it? So the plan of attack for today is to do this last game, hopefully get a win in the books, and then we're going to have a look at an end-of-season recap, a big review of the club, the season that's just gone, and maybe a little bit of a talk into the future. And of course, because people have asked for it, we're going to take a peek at Three Bridges and how they've been getting on since we left 2 years ago now. But first and foremost, we've got this game to play here, and it's almost a full-strength team. Unfortunately for us, Yannick Zayakunu is out with a little injury, not going to risk him for the final game of the year. So that means that our team for today's game looks a little bit like this. Lennon is going to come in at centre-back alongside Quansah. It's going to be John and Crow at left-back and right-back. Harker is in goal right now. Now, I don't want to say this too loudly. This could be the last time we see Nathan Harker in goal for us because, of course, we have got Adam O'Sullivan Kearney joining from Shelbourne. He doesn't join us until October. For some reason, I thought he joined in August. He doesn't. So there is a little period at the start of the year where we're going to need a new goalkeeper. But Harker, his contract's running up. I've tried to offer him a new one, but he wants a silly sum of money, really, because he thinks he's a star player. And as you can see here, he's a good National North player. I feel like I'd almost be better off getting a stopgap, and then as soon as Adam O'Sullivan Kearney arrives, or AOK, as I've been nicknaming him, arrives, he just becomes the starter. So keep a little eye on that. Of course, it will be sad to see Harker go because he's been a pretty important part of our team over the last couple of years. In terms of the midfield, it's going to be Cabazuto with Butterworth and Jones either side. Wallace at centre attacking mid, also currently without a contract for next year. He's on £800 a week. He wants to remain one of the club's biggest earners. I'm going to be honest with you, after the season that he's had, I'm finding it a little bit hard to justify him becoming one of the big earners. In fact, I kind of look at him as one of the positions I might be most likely to replace this year, which might seem mad because his mentals are really good, but technically I feel like he's lacking a little bit, and perhaps we could get an upgrade in his position. And of course, up top, we've got Maitland and Gold, two players who I think I'm pretty confident in saying at this point will be the two starting strikers for us next year. Between them, they've scored a silly number of goals. In fact, you can see here, they've scored 66 goals between them. Yeah, it's pretty mad what they've been able to do up top. They're going to lead the line again today, and well, hopefully we're going to end with a win and smash that record. So today's opposition are Darlington. They are towards the bottom of the table. I don't think they're in any danger of going down on the final day, although there is one relegation spot yet to be determined. So between us, we don't have a massive amount to play for other than history, and well, Gold, I thought for a second, wanted history. He's tried to dink the goalkeeper. The defender's got it away well. And, well, they live to fight another day, Darlington, but a good early chance for us. Corner now. Dylan Crow over it, aiming for Quansah. Gold was there as well. It was actually his header that was cleared off the line by Ryder for Darlington, and I think they've managed to get away with one there. Yeah, another iconic FC United corner, this time dealt with pretty well by them. Now, of course, if we did draw this game, 108 points would still be a record, but we wouldn't get the record number of wins, which I'd like to get. I'm not sure the players necessarily want to get it. We've been on top in this game, to be fair. We've created a ton and they've created nothing, but there's yet to be a breakthrough yet. But maybe, just maybe, it can come here. Crow's going to whip it in. Gold is there. He got a header on it. Wasn't a very good header. The direction was way off the mark. And well, with 40 minutes gone here, only 5 minutes to half-time, this game feels like it's going to fizzle out. And at the break, it is going to be 0-0. It's hardly been a classic. They've had one shot all half. I'm going to get shouty. And immediately, we have a kickoff highlight. Quansah with the ball, Cabazuto, Wallace, Butterworth. Could we see an immediate response? Could we, I don't know, come out in this second half with a new lease on life? That's what I would like to see. Quansah in possession has to be a bit careful on a booking in this half, but not really a player who I'm prepared to take off given what he offers us from set pieces. Gold knocks it down to Maitland, who's going to have a lot to do here to get away a shot. Drifts into the wide area, pulls it back to John. Cabazuto now with it, plays it back wide to John. Options queuing up in the middle. One of them is Louis Maitland, and he gets goal number 25 for the year, which is great. I'm pretty sure I now have to pay him a goal bonus because he's got 25, which is a bit annoying. But straight out from the second half, we've come out strong. And I think that took less than a minute. Ball knocked around really nicely. Cabazuto to John, the left back. He dinks it in. Normally, you'd expect Stephen Gold to be the man getting his header on it, but not this time. It was Maitland with it. Makes it 1-0. And apparently, it was a tight offside. Not tight enough as far as Darlington are concerned. We take the lead here. Hopefully, we can now just initiate cruise control. With an hour gone here, pretty straightforward so far. Crow's picked up a little bit of a knock. I'm going to just take him off for Mbeka. Elsewhere, I'm going to take off Harry Wallace and I'm going to bring in Jamie Dunn at centre attacking mid, I think, for what remains of this game. I feel like with half an hour left, they've had just the one shot on target. It feels comfortable. I would love the second goal just to really lock in this result, but to be honest, they have just shown nothing going forward, Darlington. They've been playing this 4-4-2, and I think we've just won the midfield battle, to be honest. Their strikers have been feeding off scraps, despite the fact they've actually had a decent portion of the ball. I say all of this, there's 2 minutes left and a highlight begins. If they score now, they could be stealing away our record. I say stealing it away like they're going to get it. Denying us the record is probably the better phrasing. It's Gold. Butterworth plays through Maitland. Lovely build-up play. Maitland goes around the keeper, tucks it away superbly, but the flag's raised on the far side. And that beautiful goal is going to be denied, but it ain't going to matter. We are going to win this game here 1-0. Probably would have liked a goal or two more. Quansah, despite not scoring in the game, got a man-of-the-match performance on an 8.1. Just winning absolutely everything at the back for us today. Yeah, we won that game pretty convincingly all in all. You can see just looking elsewhere, Boston United have climbed up to second towards the end of the year. Macclesfield really started to drop off. Elsewhere, you can see the teams going down. Bromsgrove Sporting, Stalybridge Celtic, Spennymoor Town and Morpeth Town. All unfortunately going down to the division that, of course, we were in just last year. Anyway, we are now at the end of the season. I'm going to get forward to the ceremony bit where we get to look through all the records, the transfers, everything that went well, and just give ourselves a jolly old pat on the back. And then following on from that, I want to talk about some of the stuff going on around the club. I feel like this happened last year, but before the ceremonies happened, all the inbox items have come up about stuff. So we can see here some of the records that we broke. 35 wins is a record for games won in a year. In terms of the overall best 11, you can see the overall best 11 as it looks right now. Harker, Yannick Azai-Kunu, Crow all making it in. Wallace as well. And Stephen Gold also breaking in the striking position. Quansah has made the bench. You can see here 50 games played, 13 goals. For a centre-back, that's pretty good. And of course, there are plenty of other familiar faces you can see here. It's kind of mad. Stephen Gold, 79 goals in 102 games. Yeah, he must be getting close to like the top goal scorer in FC United history already. Of course, the expectation going into this year was to reach the playoffs. The media prediction had us at the top of the table from the beginning. We've kind of lived up to those hopes. You can see here we had a really, really good season. And in fact, from this inbox item, I can click the end of season review and we can bask in it all. In terms of transfers in, because I did a lot of my transfer business early, we only have 4 players that apparently I signed this year. Somehow, Harry Lennon has won signing of the season. How has he managed that ahead of Quansah? I mean, if I'm Quansah, I'm kicking off about that. That is just not right, is it? I'd be livid. Biggest win, 6-0 against Brackley Town. Match to remember, apparently a 2-0 win against Halifax Town. And goal of the season, it was Maitland's 32nd minute goal against Stalybridge Celtic. Should we go have a look at it? I feel like every season where I look at the goal of the year, I sit there and go, there was definitely a few goals better than that one. I feel like the Football Manager algorithm for goal of the year isn't great, but how was this finish by Maitland? I mean, it's a nice goal. It's a nice finish. It wasn't like a screamer that hit the underside of the crossbar, pinged down and into the roof of the net or anything fancy. But yeah, Maitland, well done. Goal of the season. I don't know who votes for it, who decides it, but not very good at their job. So financially this year, we actually made slightly less money from broadcast revenue just because we didn't go on a cup run. We crashed out the FA Cup a little bit earlier. Of course, that's also indicated by the competition prize money. But in terms of match day income, we made almost £100,000 more. A question that I've seen a few people ask at various points is kind of how come FC United have so much money, which is a little bit ironic because we don't have that much money at the moment. But the reality is that for a team at this level to own their own stadium, 4,400 capacity, but having over or very close to 3,000 season ticket holders, that just gives you a monumental sum of money each and every year. If we just look at income for the year, you can see here, made £500,000 in season tickets this year. The year before that, it was 344,000. It's kind of crazy just how much money you take in through gate receipts as a well-supported team at this level. Of course, one thing to be a little bit wary of is that if we start selling many more season ticket holders, we're going to be getting kind of close to the capacity of Broadhurst Park. And then, well, we might need to look to expand the stadium, which was only built 11 years ago, or maybe even just buy a new one. I don't know how much it can be expanded to. If anyone's played with FC United in Football Manager, let me know. How big can this stadium get? In terms of how we lined up for this year, I think I agree with this team. The players are in weird positions in the centre mid area, but besides that, it's been pretty much the 11 that we've gone with. Dylan Crow, by the way, averaged over an 8.0 rating again this year. Of course, he takes all our corners. He is a bit of a wizard from, well, just set pieces in general, but also in the wide areas, just putting in balls. 26 assists this year. Last year, he got 14. I guess that is the Quansah effect, isn't it? Just having Quansah to aim for just makes him very, very good at right back. And in terms of accolades, I mean, you can see here, we were pretty dominant this season on the whole. I won Manager of the Month 5 times. Dylan Crow was voted Fans Player of the Year. Stephen Gold won Young Player of the Year. And we've already talked about stuff like the signing of the season and goal of the season. Gold was top goal scorer with 41 goals. Dylan Crow had 13 man of the matches. And Quansah, most passes completed per 90 minutes with 63, which seems really low. I don't know if anyone else feels like that's low. So only 63 per 90. I mean, I guess that's quite a lot. Is that low? That feels low. Also worth noting, over on the record breakers front, most goals by Stephen Gold in a season of 41. Most goals scored by a player in a match. Louis Maitland got 3. Apparently, we don't score hat-tricks very often here at FC United. And, well, Crow just appearing again and again. Jarrell Quansah did set a record for most expensive transfer. £20,000 almost paid for him. I think it goes without saying, he's been worth every penny. He's now valued at between 75 and 130k. He is wanted by Northampton Town. I mean, if I was going to sell him, you would expect us to make a mighty fine profit. But to be honest, don't really plan on letting him go, for cheap at least, to Northampton. And a nice little roundup. Enjoy the confetti, look at the trophy, drink it in, 110 points, a record-breaking season. And now we have to try and do it all again in the Vanarama National League, where, let's be honest, it's a very, very competitive division. One team goes up automatically. This is the gateway in to the Football League. We are now one promotion away from, the League 2 and, the Football League and beyond. You can see here some pretty formidable teams, the likes of Boreham Wood, who we couldn't beat last episode, don't even make the playoffs. That said, we have got money to spend going into this year. You can see the wage budget sits at £28,000. We're currently spending just over £20,000. So there's a little bit of money for reinvestment. In terms of the team itself, plenty of players with contracts beyond this year, including the likes of Yannick Azayakunu, whose contract I have kind of renewed fairly recently. We have a core of 17 squad players. There's a couple of players in this list of squad personnel at the top that I might still renew the contracts of. I'm kind of looking at the likes of, Mikulski, Wallace, Harker in goal is perhaps the biggest one. I feel like for both Wallace and Mikulski, I'm just not entirely sure they're justifying their £800 a week. Yannick Azayakunu was on £800 a week. I've given him a year extension on £950, which is what he wanted. Not even necessarily sure he's going to be playing for us next year, but he's just a really, really important point of this club, given how high he is in the hierarchy. I feel like squad leaders are hard to come by, and he is pretty good at dealing with all the complaints that players have. And before they come and cry to me, I send Yannick to deal with them. More often than not, he's able to solve the situation. So, yeah, I did decide it was worth throwing that money at him. I think in terms of club culture and stuff, not a great deal's changed. Expectation for next year is just to avoid relegation. I'd like to think we'll do that and then a little bit more. I'd love to try and push for the playoffs. I think that is not inconceivable, especially after the season we've had and with the money that we've got to spend. But we are going to need to add some, I would argue, fairly big additions to the squad. Besides that, a little bit concerned that they want me to sign players to sell for a profit. That might force my hand when it comes to players like Quansah, who have a little bit of interest in him. Anyway, I get a chance now to talk to the players. And to be honest, I always hate these team meetings because the best thing to do is just always say what the board said. So because the board told me to avoid relegation, that's just what I should tell the players this year. It's a bit annoying, these meetings, because I don't feel like I'm saying what I want to say. I'm just kind of pandering to the players and saying what they want to hear, which it turns out they're on the same page as the board. Nesta McIntyre, why are you downcast? What are you crying about? You don't even have a contract for next year, Nesta. I don't know if I'm going to give him a new contract. I was on the fence about it. Given his little outburst there, I might just let him go. I'm sorry to the Canadian viewers out there, because I know he is one of your own, but he's just a pain in the arse, really. So going into this new season, a few positions that I really want to target in the starting 11. I would love to get in a kind of new playmaker. As good as Wallace has been for us over the last few years, his numbers this year really haven't been cutting it. I feel like, obviously, in the striking department, Golden Maitland, superb. Don't need to worry about them. Two players who are still fairly young, still improving a little bit. If we just look at Stephen Gold's development, you can see he really has come on really well over the last 2 years. He's developed superbly. His physicals have gone up. His mentals, perhaps the most notable bit of his game, already a really strong component of it, and it's only continued to get better. Of course, elsewhere, Maitland alongside him, wasn't really sure what to expect from him. We plucked him from the lower leagues of England. You can see in a similar way, his mentals have gone up pretty well. 2 in composure over the course of 12 months is great. His physicals have gone up too. A player who's certainly benefited from playing at a higher level of football than he was playing at previously with Poole, and where, of course, he got 17 goals for them, but was still relegated. I think he's kind of proven his worth. And when we look at his report here, super consistent performer, a player who has the potential to play in League 2 and is currently operating at National League level. So the kind of player who I think we can put faith in to really get the goals for us alongside Gold next year. In the midfield, Cabazuto is an interesting one because I don't feel like he's wowed me necessarily, although I don't feel like defensive midfielders really wow you at all. Of course, I mentioned last episode that he got a goal for Gibraltar. There it is. The proof is in the pudding. As far as ball-winning midfielders go, he's not bad for this level. His mentals are maybe lacking a little bit. Could possibly play him as a centre-back, but his lack of jumping reach, I feel like, is always going to hold him back. He's the kind of player who might find himself slipping onto the bench a little bit this year, in a not dissimilar way, I suppose, to Jones. If we just compare Jones and Cabazuto here, you can see the comparison. Of course, Jones is a player who year on year on year, I don't feel like I big him up enough, this man. I do really enjoy watching him play. And I've really enjoyed just the fact that he's been with us for so long and shown so much improvement in that time. He's got 7 on his stamina, 6 on his strength, 4 on his balance. His mentals have gone up tremendously. Of course, this is over the course of 4 years, but it does just kind of prove that even in the lower leagues of English football, you can get players who just will develop. And he is a very, very good player. He's a bit of a weird player in terms of his polygon because I don't really feel like he necessarily suits any specific role. He's kind of the jack of all trades, master of some, master of none. I don't know. He can do a job for us. He's a good little goal scorer. I think he might still be in the team next year, although I wouldn't completely deny the fact that he might find himself outside the first team. Of course, lacks consistency, operating at National League North level right now, but does have the potential to maybe play in the National League. So he's the kind of player who might get a chance just through blind faith. Similarly to Maitland, of course, Butterworth came into the team this year from Dorchester. 10 goals, 10 assists. Slowed down a little bit in the second half of the year after he got his injury, but still put in a really, really good display. He will be in the team this year, kind of going into next. In the kind of rest of the defence, we talked about Harker in goal as a player who I might renew. I don't know what to do yet because I don't really want to sign a new first choice goalkeeper and then have Adam O'Sullivan-Kearney not starting for us. This man's coming in for not insignificant money. He's going to be on, I think, £1,200 a week. So he is going to be one of the biggest earners. Definitely a gamble, but at 17 years old, he's a top quality player who I'm hoping is going to flourish with first team opportunities. Over in the Irish First Division, he's been doing pretty well. He's on a 7.14 rating. Last year, he kept 11 clean sheets in 28, which I believe was a league record at the time at the age of 16. So I think, like, because he's playing regular first team football in Ireland, I can have confidence that he's going to be able to make that step up. He's already experienced game time from a very young age. I don't feel like it's going to be too daunting for him coming into our National League side. In terms of the rest of the team, I kind of look at Crow and think, you're not very good at right back, but you keep doing well. And it kind of becomes difficult to justify moving him out the team after the season that he's just had. So he might be a player who's still around. Similarly, to be honest, with Declan John, who I felt like at the time was a bit of a coup to kind of pick up for the price that we got him for. Of course, we got him for free, but the wages were very, very small. He got 8 assists in 33 games, a 7.09 rating. I feel like between him and also, where is he? Matthew Blake, we've got 2 pretty quality left backs. It's one of the positions that was a problem last year. We've addressed it this year, and I'm hoping that the fact we addressed it kind of semi-longer term means I don't need to worry about it this year. Of course, Quansah at the back is great. Probably looking for a new centre-back partner in crime, though. Of course, we've got Yannick Azai-Kunu. If we struggle to find a centre-back, I wouldn't hesitate too much to put him in the team, but it goes without saying he doesn't like big matches. Apparently, he's a decent player for kind of our current level. I don't necessarily know if he's got the quality to be a playoff player in a Vanarama National League team. And if that is truly where we're going to be aiming, I have got to be a little bit more cutthroat, I feel like. Players like Yannick maybe just accept he's had his day, he's had a good run at the club, but he is just going to slowly now move down the pecking order as we kind of shuffle him down. Now, before we take a look at Free Bridges, just a little thing that I want to talk about just in general, because this comes up a lot, is Jack, how do you find players in these lower league saves? I don't think I'm ever going to do a video on this, but I'll show you what I've been doing this year as a little bit of prep. I actually need to start actually scouting the players, but I was waiting for the new scouting budget to come in for the year, which still hasn't arrived yet. But one thing that I think is really, really good to do, especially at this point in the year where we're not at the end of June, so players haven't been released yet from their contracts, is to look at what is available in terms of players who are going to be released at the end of their contracts, or at least very likely to be released. So you'll notice I've not got the interested in box ticked here. Now, the reason I've not got it ticked is because there's a lot of players in this list that aren't going to be interested in joining me because they're contracted to higher up clubs. But when they get released at the end of June, their expectations are going to drop a little bit. And by being aware of them now, I can maybe find them a little bit more easily rather than when there's thousands of players available. So what I've got set up is contract expires in 6 months. We've then got division is Premier League or Championship or League One. And then because I've got the interested in unticked, I've just got an arbitrary wage amount that is kind of relative to our first team of £1,500. So I'm not going to have any players who are on more money than this becoming available. This is players who are kind of in our price range, who are currently running down their contracts, who might be good players for us. You can sort these players by world reputation. You can sort them by wages if you want to get maybe a better idea of quality, although it goes without saying wages doesn't necessarily define a player's quality. And another thing just to be aware of is, as well as all the players that come up here, you can also change this to youth. And the reason to change it to youth basically is there are players who won't be given professional contracts upon kind of turning a set age, so they just get released at the end of their youth contracts, as is the case potentially with some players here. I've not actually looked through these players in any detail, but I mean, there's one guy here who our scouts have already looked at called Jimmy Kieran's. I mean, you can see here, he's nuts, 17 years old, Irish youngster, rated an A, consistent, can play a couple of positions, and I can just approach to sign him now. And because he's running down his contract, I'm hoping there's no compensation involved. Yeah, £0 compensation. Bit annoying. He wants a minimum release clause to teams in higher divisions of 30k. He also has a relegation release clause that he wants. Now, the relegation release clause is fine. I don't think we're going to get relegated. I don't really want to be losing him for £30,000 to a team in a higher division. So as good as he looks, and to be honest, he would be an absolutely insane player now that I look at him for our centre-back position. He is the kind of guy who I'm not immediately going to make a move for now. Probably going to wait for his contract to expire and hope that some of these other teams that are interested in him aren't going to go in for him. I would imagine if I ticked interested in transfer here, he wouldn't show up. Yeah, you can see here he just doesn't show up. But because I've got that completely unticked, even though it's on, if we put it on doubtful, does he show up? Yeah, he doesn't even show up when you have it on doubtful. So just by unticking it, but then having the wage cap come up, even though my staff think he has no interest in joining, because he's at the end of his contract, because he's a youngster who's been told he doesn't have a future, he is actually interested in having a chat with us. Of course, I am playing without attribute masking on. That is to help me play through the game more quickly. Sometimes I get asked, Jack, how do you get through a season and every 1 to 2 weeks? And the reason is I play the game a lot, but also in having attribute masking on, I can play through stuff quicker. I do make an active effort not to just filter for the best players by role, because I feel like that does take the fun out of it. But by using the filters like this, even if you have attribute masking on or off, you can find some really, really good players. Just like Jimmy Kieran's here. I mean, I'm now curious about some of these other players that maybe Man City are going to be letting go, who actually all look pretty good on the face of it. In fact, there's a lot of Man City players here. There's probably some Manchester United players here as well. Oh, okay. Yeah, so you know what? I could go through all these players individually. These are all Premier League players who I guess their contracts are expiring at the end of the year. So I can approach to sign them all because they've been told they've not got a future. There is 1,800 of them. So if I just filter it just to Premier League players, there's still quite a lot of players there. I was going to mass scout everyone. In fact, let's just sort by world reputation and just scout the players towards the top here and see what comes up. But yeah, hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea. And if you're doing a lower league save, you can use some of the filter kind of bits that I've covered in this section here to help you find some really good players. Not just youth players, of course, this goes for the older players as well. I'm obviously targeting younger players because younger players usually have slightly lesser wage demands. But anyway, to end today's video, we will have a look at Three Bridges and how they have done this year. They finished 7th place in the Isthmian League Premier Division, which of course we are now 2 divisions above. That does mean that they narrowly missed out on the playoffs. They had an awful run at the end of the year, which probably cost them actually in the grand scheme of things. If we just have a look at their general information, financially, my face is covering it. They're financially insecure still. Last year they finished 10th. This year they finished 7th. Their media prediction was 16th. Oren McKee, who was actually my replacement, is still the manager at the club. Carl Eppel, who I believe we did sign actually. Yeah, we definitely did sign him for them. He is their key player. He actually looks pretty good. He's got 11 goals in 41 for them. Elsewhere, Carldo Sadiq is still at the club at centre-back. I did see the odd people kind of mention signing Sadiq and Ben recently. I think going into this year, I do want to just provide a little bit of context as to how far ahead of where Three Bridges were we are now. You can see here Quansah next to Sadiq. It almost just looks like Quansah is Sadiq's bigger brother, I realise. Elsewhere as well, Aaron Ben, I saw people mention a lot in the comment section. He was a superstar for us during this day. Like, I'm not trying to diminish his achievements, but if we just compare him against Maitland here, you can kind of see the difference that these 2 divisions make. The quality of player that we could attract at Three Bridges versus what we have here at FC United is mental. It's incomparable. I did notice when we looked at Three Bridges' team here, they are relying a lot on players in on loan. They've got a few players loaned out as well, I assume to save some money wage-wise. The vast majority of their players have absolutely no transfer value. They're going to be losing a few potentially key parts of their first team as well going into the new year. I mean, you can see here, they're financially insecure. They've got they've got plenty of players actually on contracts, but it's not a big squad. I can only see them struggling for the next few years, sadly. But anyway, folks, that is going to wrap up everything from me today. I hope you did enjoy today's episode as always. If you'd like to see me cover some more tip bits in Football Manager for stuff that I do, maybe to find players, maybe to do with training, maybe I can dedicate little portions of episodes, a bit like we did with the player searching stuff today, just to show you how I do stuff, because I'm sure there was some useful info in there if you're doing a save like this one. If there's any questions that you have like that you'd like to see me maybe covering next season's episodes at a relevant point, let me know them down below. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I am desperately going to try and get a video out for tomorrow. I've got a lot of pre-season to play. I've got a long day of Football Manager ahead of me. I do hope to see you guys tomorrow for some kind of episode. It might be that we do a kind of mid-pre-season episode if that's entirely necessary, but really, I'd like to get to the start of the National League season. I don't feel like we're looking at a big squad overhaul, just a couple of key positions really to address, a little bit of depth, plenty of money to make it happen, and hopefully next episode I'll be back to boast all about our new acquisitions. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you guys tomorrow for more, and well, until then, it is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.